You know, one of the most difficult positions to be in is when you feel like, as a woman, that the man you were dating or you were with ends up choosing another woman over you, okay? And it can be extremely hurtful. It can be discouraging. Sometimes it can feel depressing, all right? And it's just a lot to take in because, you know, there's so many things that run through your head like, well, what made her better? What does she do that I don't do? What does she have that I don't have? You know, there's just a lot of frustration and sometimes feeling of inadequacy when this happens. Now, I want to make clear right now that sometimes, many times, being chosen or having someone being chosen over you isn't this automatic reflection of you not being good enough or you not possessing value. You got to remember that a lot of men are not built to see and embrace your value because they're not the guy for you. And in many of these situations, though it feels hurtful, especially because in some ways you may feel like this woman like beat you, so to speak. I don't want you to think that way, but sometimes that's what happens. That's how you feel, right? It can be a tough pill to swallow, but it is not, again, I have to say again, it's not a reflection of your value. There may be so many other reasons going on as to why this happens. So it's important that we do not internalize these types of situations and we don't allow it to push us into this negative place where we question our own value and we now struggle with our self-worth, all right? We've got to look past that and understand that there is more for us to focus our energy on, so to speak. But getting back to breaking this whole thing down of, you know, when a man does choose another woman over you, I want to shed light on it, why it happens, what's actually going on, okay? And so here's one that actually wasn't even on my list, but I swear to you, it's hitting my spirit. I know I always say this, but it's hitting my spirit right now. So we're going to kick it off with this one. Sometimes he chooses another woman over you because he feels less vulnerable with the other woman. So here's the thing. You know, I'm always talking about connection and I'm always talking about healing. And the unfortunate reality is that a lot of people, and let's just focus on men for right now, a lot of men haven't healed. A lot of men have had their heart broken, whether many women realize that or not, a lot of men have had their heart broken. A ridiculous amount of men have had their heart broken. I eventually plan to bring you guys the stories so you can hear them, so you can understand what's going on. I digress. The point is, it's happening. They have not healed from those situations. And what happens to individuals when they have not healed is a fear of being vulnerable, okay? A fear of finding themselves in a position where they will be devastated like they were last time if things don't work out here. It's almost like my heart can only handle so much, so I will only go where I don't have to expose much of my heart. So you'll have these scenarios where sometimes a man could be very much in love or view a woman as this is the one, but be terrified of the idea of being with her. All right? And will then choose another woman that it's easier emotionally to deal with. Again, I've spoken about this on the reverse side of women doing this because women do this as well. It's a people thing. If I'm honest, I will say it happens more with women than men, but it does happen with men. But the bottom line is, yes, they run from where they feel this higher level of vulnerability, this higher level of love, and go to something that is lower level because it's easier there. So when you hear me say things like the safe choice is almost always the wrong choice, this is what I mean by safe. I don't mean safe as in the good safe and secure where I can be at peace. No, I mean safe as in I don't have to put my heart out on the table here. I don't have to be worried about my heart being crushed because look at it like this. The person you love most can hurt you the worst. All right. So it's like, and I'll give you an example from a woman's side. If you as a woman are dating a man and you think he's cool and everything, but you don't really like him like that. But you might give this a chance and see where it can go. And let's just say he forgets your birthday. Now, some of y'all gonna be mad regardless because you don't like any man forgetting your damn birthday. But I'm saying, because it's him, you may be annoyed, you may be a little salty about it, but it doesn't like hurt because you're not really into him like that. But if it's the guy that you are madly in love with and you're just so into and you feel so vulnerable with, and this man forgets your birthday, it hits and hurts in a way that the other guy, it doesn't affect you with the other guys. All right? So this is how people are operating, or this is their concern. It's like, I don't want to be with that person who I feel for the most because they can hurt me the most. And if my perception of the opposite sex, so in this scenario, a man viewing women, is I can't trust women. Women will always hurt you. There's this saying going around where she's not yours, it's just your turn. Very toxic mindset, but that's how a lot of men think. It's like, yo, this is just temporary. She gonna leave you the first chance she get, or when she sees a better opportunity. If that's the mindset, then their willingness to be with a woman they are in love with is like eliminated. And now they will only choose someone that they can maintain a level of emotional control with. So sometimes, and I feel the need to also mention this. This is why in some situations, well, it's a little bit different. So I was going to mention how sometimes you'll see like men and women break up who do love each other, but something went wrong. And then so the woman sees that the man has moved on very fast. And we'll be like, oh, well, because he moved on very fast, he must not love me. And it's like, no. He's moving on fast to try to cope and distract himself from how much he actually does love you and how much he's hurting because you guys broke up. His surface actions are not telling the full story, what's going on beneath it. So don't get caught up in what you see. But that's kind of a different type of scenario than this idea of just running from the woman that he feels most vulnerable with and running to a woman that he doesn't have to expose so much of himself with. All right, so let's keep this going. Another real reason why a man chooses one woman over another is because the other woman lets him get away with more nonsense. Plain and simple. The unfortunate reality is that there's going to be some situations where, and this is a perfect example of, it's a blessing that this man left you or, chose to break up with you and go be with someone else, because he was looking for a situation where he can do the least and receive the most. So you have these scenarios where the man is not treating you the way you need to be treated, not pouring into you the way that you need, but you are giving to him. The thing is, in addition to your giving, you're still not happy. And in you not being happy, you may be what he considers nagging him, stressing him out. You always want to talk about your feelings and all this stuff, which you should talk about them. But to him, he will paint this as a very negative thing. So to him, it's all about you're doing too much. You're stressing me out. So now he eventually meets some other woman who is willing to give the same things you're willing to give, but keep her mouth shut. She's not going to question why he's out late. She's not going to want to talk about what are we to each other or whatever issues that she has. She's just going to go along with it and suck it up and give him what he wants. Now, here's the reality. I want to say it's extremely rare. I want to say it never happens. I'm just going to say, for the sake of being open, it's extremely rare that a woman can go on forever not getting the treatment that she deserves and just go along with it and not say nothing. All right. So even though he moves on to another woman because she is letting him get away with more nonsense, well, there's an expiration date on that. And he will just keep moving on to the next woman and the next woman and the next woman. He will use up as much as he can in the current situation. And then once that hits its boiling point, so to speak, he will move on to the next. Either way, You've got to understand that if he was not treating you the way that you deserved, good riddance. Plain and simple. You should not be stressing over the fact that he's now moved on to some other woman. Also, here's something that's extremely important, and this applies to any of the points I'm going to make in this video. It is very easy, and I've seen this happen tons of times. It's very easy to sometimes lose sight of what this man really means to you and slide into a competition with the other woman. So let's use this dynamic. He was not treating you right, all this stuff. You were doing so much for him, right? But you were expressing your concerns and your issues. He now wants to move on to this next woman because she accepts more of his nonsense. You getting caught up in a battle with this woman because like, well, why is he going to her? What has she got that I don't? Not understanding it's just that she accepts his nonsense. You now fight to get this, I was going to say trash, this man who ain't worth your time back because you want to show her that she can't take that man from you. You're trying to beat her. You see what I'm saying? You're trying to outdo her. And it's like, yo, I've seen literally get caught in this battle between each other for years. And the man's treating them both like poorly. It's unfortunate. It's sad, but that's why I'm warning you about it. And if you are in it right now, I'm hoping this wakes you up because it is not worth your time. It is robbing you of your peace. And even if you win that man back, what did you win? More mistreatment? More unhappiness? More being miserable? It's not worth it. So when this is the case, let him go. Let him move on. You are better off without him. All right, so here's another one. And I was a little hesitant to mention this one because I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, okay? But at the same time, I want to be honest and I want to be real about what happens, okay? So please understand, I say this with a loving heart and with loving intention to just be clear. Another reason why a man chooses another woman over the other is because he has become more attracted to the other woman than his current, okay? So here's the thing. In most cases that I have seen, it's not a scenario of he let's say you're the woman, he meets you, he's in a relationship with you or whatever, or he's even dating you, because sometimes this can happen while in the dating phase, right? And actually, no, I was going to say, so if he's already in a relationship with you, most cases that I've seen, it's not a man just leaves the woman that he's in a relationship with and the relationship has been good just because he's more attracted to somebody else. It can happen. It does happen, but that's typically not the case. Okay. Because it's like, once we have something established here and that means he was attracted to you, he's usually good. What happens is if you deviate from how you look when you guys first got together, then yes, then it's a different ball game. So to just be straightforward about it, he gets with the woman. They've been together 2 years. After 2 years, let's call it what it is, she puts on a lot of excess weight. All right. And it's kind of weight that does not look good on her. Okay. Does not look good on her to him at the very least. And it's a weight that she is not trying to remove either. I think that's a key point to make. Because it's one thing to say, okay, she put on some weight for various reasons, but she's working on getting it off. Versus she's like, nah, it is what it is. It's who I am. In that scenario, yes. And then he meets someone more attractive. That has happened many times, bottom line. All right. So that can be one of the reasons why. Now, I've also seen this play out in just the dating process, meaning guy meets you, he's talking to you, everything seems to be going great. You guys have not become official yet. Another woman enters into the picture, and because of his higher attraction to this woman, he ends up choosing to go with that woman. All right. Now, I've seen this play out to where he chose the other woman, eventually saw it wasn't it, tried to go back to the original woman, blew up in his face, the whole thing fell apart. The point here is, I'm just letting you know of real scenarios that happen and why it happens. But again, Let's just start with the dating example. If he just picks somebody else because he feels like he's more attracted to them, so be it. We've got to understand, and it goes back to what I said in the very beginning of this video. Just because he found someone more attractive than you, for him, does not mean you are not attractive. You see what I'm saying? It does not mean there isn't going to be another man who looks at you like you are amazing. It just means that, yes, for him, one, he put a higher value on physical attraction than maybe you have or would have liked for him to have. And it may just be a symptom of there wasn't a strong enough foundation there for him to want to remain with you, which means he was not best for you anyway. All right. So I know it can be a tough pill to swallow if you see this woman and to you, she looks like she's more beautiful. You may start to internalize that, but you got to reject that and understand, you know what? People are going to do what they're going to do. If he's not for you, you move on so you can receive who is for you. Oh, but before I move to the next point, let me say now, if the example is the one I gave about in a relationship and you now let yourself go, or let me rephrase that, life happens, all right, and your body has changed and you're presenting yourself differently, then this is a situation where you have to ask yourself, and I'm just going to be completely real with you. And again, some of y'all may not like me after this one. Are you happy with where you are and how you look? So if you're that woman, you've been with him a couple years, you put on some weight. If you are not happy with how you look, forget what he's thinking for a second. Though I do believe that we should be trying to look good for our partner, but make that clear. I believe in that wholeheartedly, men and women. But if you are not happy with it, then you've got to be willing to do something about it. I know that's easier said than done, but you've got to be willing to put in the work, because you don't want to impact the relationship in a negative way with this issue. Because understand is, at that point, if you're not happy with how you look, it's no longer just about how you look. Because I can guarantee you, you're not coming off as confident as you used to. You may feel a little bit more hesitant to be intimate. I have so many stories of women who, even though the man said, I am still highly attracted to you and I still desire you fully, because the woman did not like how she was looking, she did not want to be as intimate anymore. She felt self-conscious. If they were intimate, the lights had to be off for her. So it was causing a problem even when it wasn't a problem for him. But you better believe if it's a problem for him and it's a problem for you, it's gonna have a negative impact. So you gotta be willing to do something about it. On the flip side, if you can honestly say to me, I am happy with, I'm just throwing out an example, I am happy with these extra X amount of pounds, right? I'm good here. I feel good about myself. I'm still confident. But this man is no longer attracted to that. Then it's one of those things where, all right, then just let him go. Because there's no sense in, if you are happy, I'm not going to tell you to change it. If you're genuinely happy, feeling good, unless it's crossing a barrier where you've become unhealthy because of it, that's a whole different ballgame. But if you're going to say to me, no, I actually am happy like this, I love this, then I can't tell you to change that. So if he's not happy with it, it's just one of those things where you have to say, okay, you know what? I'm no longer what he initially signed up for, but I'm not trying to change none of this because I'm good here. So if he has to walk away, so be it. And either way, we don't need to internalize that or turn into something negative. It's an example of we grew apart. We went into two different directions. It is what it is. It's what happens sometimes. All right, so let's keep this moving. Another reason why a man chooses one woman over another is because you want commitment and he's not ready for it. So ultimately, and this might be a short one, it's exactly what I said. At the end of the day, you're dating this man, you want something official, he is unwilling to commit, and sometimes what happens is the man will try to hold on for as long as he can, dragging the situation out and all these things. But once again, it kind of goes back to the point of the woman who accepts his nonsense. If someone else comes into the fold, where she's willing to play the role that you're playing, possesses some of the things you possess, but is willing to not stress about a relationship, well, yeah, some men will move on to that other woman because it's easier there. I can still get the benefits I'm looking for without having to deal with stress or expectations of trying to be serious. All right. And the reality is, and I've said this in other videos, you know, some of you may say, well, if we're behaving in this boyfriend-girlfriend way, and I'm doing all these things for him, why can't he make me his girlfriend? We're pretty much acting like that. Well, because the key is when a man does not want to commit, it's two things he's trying to avoid. He's trying to avoid obligation, and he's trying to avoid eliminating all his other options. Plain and simple. So full commitment and obligation. So obligation is more so, well, now as your boyfriend, he has to step up to the plate more. Like I always give the example of like, if he's not your man and you need a favor, there's a little bit more leeway when it comes to what he chooses to do in that situation. When he's your man, there's more of an expectation of, you got to help your girl out. Like that's your woman. Okay. Not saying he shouldn't be willing to help you as the man who's been dating you. That's a whole different discussion, and we can, argue about that. But the point is, there is a greater obligation once he says, I am your man, you are my woman, this is official. All right. And then the eliminating other options is self-explanatory. Some men are just not prepared to stop playing the field. Whether it be because they're just not serious enough about you, whether it be they feel like they never had that opportunity before, because that sometimes does happen. Some men feel like, dang, I'm just now coming into my own and getting to a place where I have options, and now I meet this woman and it's like, damn, just jumping right into a relationship. Some of them feel like they want to experience that life for a second first. Whatever the reason being, your unwillingness to accept that, and not saying you should, could cause him to choose the other woman. But again, pretty much every point here is an example. If that man chooses the other woman, right, it just means, other than that first point I made, just means he's probably not for you, or he is not ready to be with you. And therefore, there's no point in trying to convince him otherwise or hold on for dear life, because all you're going to do is sell yourself short in the process. So not wanting to commit is definitely another reason why the man chooses the other woman. All right, now, before we continue real quick, if you want to get your personal questions answered by me, learn how to tap into your feminine energy, learn how to meet more relationship-minded, serious, good men. I stress good, serious-minded men. All right, hear God more clearly, tap into your purpose, all these wonderful things that will make your life better. Join my special coaching program today. Go to receivingmyblessings.com or click the link in the description or in the comments section. Thousands of women have joined. Thousands of women are getting all types of help and having their lives change. It's an amazing experience you do not want to miss out on. So again, click the link in the description or the comment section or go to receivingmyblessings.com. All right, so let's get with another reason that the man chooses another woman over you, or over another woman. And keep an open mind, hear me out, is because she knows how to make him feel better than you do. Okay? Now, here's what I want you to understand. I always say there are so many good women out there. Many of you watching this, I want to believe all of you watching this, are genuinely good women. However, a lot of you are not positive women, okay? And it's important to understand the difference. You may be a good person, have good intentions, you've been through things just like anybody else in life, but sometimes you're holding on to way too much negative energy. And whether you realize it or not, it comes off of you a lot, okay? So some of you will meet a man, you guys will date, there may be attraction there, there might be some good things there. But what you're overlooking is that you don't create an environment that feels super good to him. Now, one would think, oh, well, if that's the case, why wouldn't the man just leave you alone? Why would he even get with you if that's what's going on? Well, believe it or not, I can't tell you how many times I've had men DM me about situations and they would describe a very toxic relationship and they would end it by saying, how can I hold on to my woman? How can I make this work? Like, that's not enough sometimes to push them away. And there's various reasons. Sometimes because they're just as toxic. All right. So, it's hard for someone who has dysfunction within them to be able to call out or hold anyone else accountable for their dysfunction. Sometimes when we have that dysfunction within us, we are drawn to dysfunction. There could be fears. He could be enamored and infatuated with your beauty or other things that you possess that he desires greatly. There's all kinds of reasons. Okay. I have to even add, sometimes it's just that you provide certain benefits. Like, let's say you're that woman that's giving that man so much, even though he's not doing much for you. So it's just too beneficial for him to want to leave, despite the fact that the environment doesn't necessarily make him feel good. It just provides a lot of things for him. So he doesn't want to let go of all those benefits and resources. All that to say, so that causes these men to overlook the fact that you don't know how to make them feel good. And so I always say, listen, there's always women paying attention. There's always women that, you're a woman, you guys pick up on the smallest details. If this man is going to work and he's going to work with this very depressed attitude or very beaten down attitude, and this woman knows he has a woman at home, well, that's very likely that if she has interest in him, she will pick up on the idea that, okay, you are pouring into him an energy that is negatively impacting him. And if she wants to counter that, or she wants to now win his attention, she has to, as I just said, counter it. She has to now come in with the good stuff, and she starts pouring into him, and she starts, I hate to say the phrase, stroking his ego. She starts making him feel good. I'll say this. There was one time a man, I plan on writing a book one day all about infidelity. And there was a man that once said to me, make sure you tell women that not all cheating by men starts with sexual desire. That a lot of times it starts from an emotional place. And what he meant is, like, you could have this man who doesn't feel supported and loved and respected at home. Then you have this woman outside the home who starts to pour that into him, and he becomes emotionally drawn to her. It wasn't that he was sexually pursuing her or even initially sexually drawn to her. He's emotionally drawn to her, which then creates a desire or a willingness to want to have sex with her, because for a lot of men, intimacy is where they express their desire, their love, whatever the case may be. This is not to make it okay or to excuse it. It's just to explain what's going on. And that is why you'll see a lot of situations where sometimes the other woman that he chooses, right, is not even as attractive as his initial woman. You know what I'm saying? It's a drop off in looks, but it's because at that point he's valuing how she makes him feel more than anything. So it is important. And of course, I want you to understand, it isn't a one-sided thing that I promote as far as making your partner feel good, right? The man has to learn how to make his woman feel good, secure, all these things too. But I'm talking to you right now. And in talking to you, yes, I have to remind you that this is a real issue. And this is one of those times where you've got to take responsibility for, what am I pouring into my partner? Am I being that source of love, support, peace, all these wonderful things? Am I learning and accepting and embracing how to make him feel good consistently? Now, if your retaliation or your rebuttal is, well, if he wasn't doing X, Y, Z, or if he stepped up, or, blah, 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 right? Well, then my response is, why are you with him? Why are we waiting for him to choose another woman over you when you should be choosing your peace and your singleness over him? You see what I'm saying? If you're going to choose to still be there, despite whatever it is he's falling short with, then you still have to hold yourself accountable for how you're showing up. You don't get to use what he's doing as an excuse. If that's going to be your explanation, then you might as well leave. I always say, listen, there is no point in staying in a relationship if we're going to now act the fool. If we're going to give ourselves reasons why it's okay to come up short because our partner this, our partner that. No, either we're going to come correct or we don't come at all. Plain and simple. So I just highly encourage you. This is a real issue that happens. This is a real reason why some men choose the other woman over another. But I want you to fortify if you are in one or you end up in a relationship, I want you to strengthen it by making sure you are assessing what you are pouring into your partner. And I'll say one other thing. If again, you're saying to yourself, well, he's been doing this, or if he would do that, all right, I always say address it first. And address it with the intention of, hey, I want to be better for you. I want to be able to pour these things into you. But what I need from you in return is X, Y, Z. And if you guys can agree to that, boom, great. If y'all can't get on the same page about it, then that's just more evidence that it's time to walk away. All right, so I actually had a few more to go, but I don't want to make the video too long, right? So we're going to have to do a part 2 at a later date. So I'm going to just end this with a bonus one. So we're going to have those top 5. Here's an extra one for this video. And again, there'll be another video in the future giving you some more explanation. But another common reason why a man chooses one woman over another is due to family pressure, okay? And I'm gonna throw in there even pressure from friends as well. So the unfortunate reality is that there are a lot of people out there who allow their family and friends to have way too much influence over them. And more specifically, their family. Like the friends it can happen, but this is really more specifically with the family. And I've seen and I've coached through situations where the man generally may want woman A, right? That's where his heart is at. But the family is like, no, you have to choose woman B. I've even had some scenarios where the family was like, yo, if you choose woman A, we're cutting you off financially. We're disowning you. Like they've taken it to very intense places. And it's just crazy the positions that some people are being put in by their families. And so, you know, it's sad because at the end of the day, like I'm going to always stand behind doing what's truly best for you, going where you know your heart belongs, where that connection is there, where true love is, and not let your family derail you. Because again, the problem is, yeah, so you in this scenario, your family doesn't cut you off. You get to keep them around because you chose person B, but person B can't make you happy like person A. And your family don't have to wake up next to person B every night. Your family doesn't have to have kids with person B. Your family doesn't have to deal with all the day-to-day issues that can come about when you choose to be with someone that isn't truly best for you. So I don't support it, you know what I'm saying? But I empathize, I feel sympathy towards the men who are in this position. Of course, this happens to women too, but we're talking about the men right now. It's just an unfortunate dynamic, but it does happen like that. And again, it's one of those things where as a woman, if it happens to you, like there isn't much you can do about it. You can only hope and pray that the man's going to make the choice that's truly best for the both of you, right? But you can't control how much control his family has over him. And depending on the age of the man, depending on the dependency, you know, whether it be financially or whatever that this individual has towards his family, there's so many factors. Or it's just for some, it may be as simple as like they hold on to their mothers. Let's focus real quick on the mother. It's not even a family thing. It's a mother thing. And the mother's like, I don't like her. And if you choose her, like we're done or we're going to have a problem. And he has this loyalty to his mother. He feels like, you know, he can't betray her. That's his mom. Or that, you know what, despite my feelings, I trust my mom knows best. Even though in some situations, the mom is speaking from a place of unresolved trauma and hurt. The mom is not giving an unbiased perspective, all right? The mom may be simply telling him don't choose woman A because she feels like with woman A, she will be replaced, all right? Whereas with woman B, she will maintain control in the situation and over her son. So if you're a man watching this, you got to be careful with that. You got to be mindful of, listen, she might be your mother. She may love you to death. She's still a human being. She's still flawed. Where are her intentions coming from? Why is she saying she does not like this woman? Why is she pushing you to the other woman over her? What's really behind this? Anyways, the point is, this is something that happens. It's something to be aware of. But at the end of the day, you got to trust God. And if this man, for whatever reason, chooses another woman over you, then trust that either the timing is just not right, or God has something bigger and better waiting for you, and a man who will love, cherish, and choose only you. So there's a topic I've discussed in the past about why a man chooses one woman over another. All right. And I did this video and it got a lot of views. And I said in the video, there was a lot more to discuss and I was going to do a part 2. And so here we are. All right. It's time to do that part 2. It's time to break this thing down. Now, like I mentioned in the first video, and I will link it at the very end of this video if you want to check that out. One thing I want women to not do is to internalize when a man, quote unquote, chooses another woman over her. Because there's so many reasons that can be at play, and it's not necessarily a reflection of you not being a good woman or anything like that. Now, are there some things, and are there some things that may have been thrown things off between a woman and a man? Of course, that can happen, right? And so more so, if anything, it's about, in many cases, you two just aren't in alignment with each other. And maybe that man's in better alignment with someone else, or for some of the reasons I'm going to lay out right now, he chooses the other option, but it's not really a reflection of you and what's going on with you. So don't let it in any way cause you to question your value or question how good of a woman you are or anything like that, okay? But let's get into some of these additional reasons why a man chooses one woman over another. And a big one we have to talk about is because he can't be with the one he truly loves. So in this situation, with this one, we could argue that he's not necessarily he's making a choice, but because he's been left with no other choice as far as he is concerned, okay? So what I mean by that is you could have a situation where, and this happens a lot, and trust me, as a coach, I've seen this in so many different ways. Let's say a woman and man, let's say they're friends. Okay, now, let me use the friends. I'll give you another example. Man, he's pursuing a woman. He's like, I love you. I'm so into you. But woman, for whatever reasons, has her hesitations. In this scenario that I'm thinking about right now, family was in her head telling her, this man is not at your level. You know, you deserve someone better than that. Not that he was a bad guy, okay? His line of work and he wasn't of a certain status that they felt that she should be with, okay? So they got her head, caused her to be very hesitant. He pursued and pursued over a year. And he truly, by his own words and his efforts, was in love with this woman. But everyone has their breaking point, all right? And you can only resist someone for so long. So she resisted him. Eventually, you know, he starts to just stop trying so hard. And 6 months later, right, after they kind of lose contact for a little bit, she finally realizes, like, you know what? I made a mistake. I need to go back. And then finds out he's with some other woman. And they're engaged to get married, okay? Now, for her, she's all hurt. She's like, well, that means he must have been playing me. How could you claim you love me? And then all of a sudden now you're moving on and with some other woman and engaged to her. And I'm like, none of that means he did not love you. None of that means he was not truly in love with you. But for many men, if they cannot be with the one they truly love, and they've now reached a point in their life where they want to settle down, many will then choose whatever is the next best option, the best logical option. And many times, that next best or logical option is the woman who is showing him how much she wants to be with him. Because understand this, when he has poured his heart out to this one woman, trying so hard to be with her, but essentially feeling her rejection or resistance all this time, that puts him in a mindset of, like, I don't want to have to be in a situation where I'm trying so hard to win someone's love only to be left out in the cold. So now you have this other woman come along who's the one who's making all the effort and showing all this energy and doing all this, and that feels safe. A lot of women do this too, but we're not going to focus on the women. We're going to focus on the men. A lot of women, a lot of men will do that because now it's like, oh, okay, well, you know what? I have the security of feeling like she really wants to be with me, and I'm not the one over here begging and pleading and getting treated the way I got treated in the last situation. But anyways, the woman who finally came back was, she wanted to refuse to believe that he could possibly truly love her. And I'm like, no, that's just wrong. And again, I see it happen so often. There's tons of men right now married to a woman but have stronger feelings for someone else. And I would argue that's the majority of marriages. All right. I know that sounds horrible, but I'm just being real with y'all. I think the majority, not all, right? But I think the majority are very close to it, are people who are married to one person but have stronger feelings for someone else. Okay. And for whatever reason, that situation was not able to get worked out. Sometimes by their own, because of their own issues or fears or what the other person was doing, whatever. But the bottom line is, yes, this happens. And for that man, it may also be a matter of not using this person, but kind of like how a rebound relationship works. Some individuals move on because they're trying to invest into someone new to help them forget about the other person, to help them detached from the other person. So it's a coping mechanism for them, right? And so that's why I'll have people ask me, well, how could this man move on so fast? And I'm like, hold on. He may be moving on the surface, right? But he's doing that to help deal with the fact that underneath, he still struggles. Underneath, he still misses the other woman. Underneath, he still has a greater love for the other woman, but he's trying not to have to deal with that any longer. And it's easier to do that if you have someone else you have to pour your energy and time into. So it is more common than people think. And it's unfortunate. It's sad, but it's a reality. And it is one of the reasons why a man will choose one woman. Or again, in his mind, what was he supposed to do? He can't wait for the woman he loves forever. And you never know if it's ever going to work out or whatever the case may be. And it could be other issues involved there. But at some point, it's like if he wants a family, if he wants to settle down, he's got to make a move. All right. So now, another reason why a man chooses one woman over another is because there's a greater financial benefit there. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say this is extremely common. I mean, it happens. It does happen. I wouldn't say it's the majority of situations, but the reality is that there are men out there who ain't doing that great for themselves or can't really hold themselves up. And for them, the choice of who to be with is going to be very dependent on the resources that woman can provide. Like, it reminds me of a guy I knew who, he was telling me a story how he was with this one woman who was like this beautiful model, right? And he was explaining to me, he was like, man, you wouldn't believe, uh, she was also like an IG model or someone who's, on the internet like that. And he said, she had all these followers, but little would people know she was super broke. He was like, she can't even order a pizza for herself, right? It was really bad. And I was like, oh, wow. I was like, so, like, what happened with the relationship? And he's like, oh, I broke up with her. I said, why'd you break up with her? He said, well, we can't both be broke. I'm trying not to laugh, but it made me laugh when he said it at the time. Like, dang, well, you got a point. That makes sense, okay? But yes, and so for him, where he was at that stage of his life, he's evolved since then. But where he was, and it's not me. Trust me, it's not me. Never been me. When at that stage of his life, because of where he was and not doing well, that played a huge role in who he would allow himself to be with. And yes, it superseded or it trumped desires like physical attraction, because he was clearly very physically attracted to the woman. He liked her personality wise, but to him it was like, yo, we both struggling. And at that time in his life, I don't think he had a path or vision on how he was going to get himself out of it. And he needed someone that can take that burden off of him, or at least buy him some time. And I've had other men who said to me like, yeah, you got to find a woman who you can build wealth with and who has this and that. And I'm like, you're focused on all her resources, money, because you ain't where you need to be. And I'm not saying that's not important to some people, regardless, even for a man who may be successful, not as often as some may think, but depending on how successful, that's a whole different discussion. But a lot of these men who are not stable, who have not gotten to a certain place, or who simply still see a huge need for basically a supplemental income, somebody else who's bringing in some money, is going to weigh that in who they choose to be with. But then it's not just who has the money, it's who's going to give it to him. All right, so you could have two women, and let's say they're both doing well, but one is like, you're a man. You need to be able to take care of yourself and do things for yourself, or I still want to be treated a certain kind of way. So that's no benefit to him, right? But the next woman can have a little bit less than her. He can have a lot less. But that woman is willing to let him live in her apartment while she takes care of the rent, light bill, whatever. Hell, has this joker driving her car, not even giving her gas money. She's still the one putting. I mean, it gets bad. And if you are in this situation, I don't want you to feel like I'm picking on you right now. I pray that you get yourself out of that, right? And into a better place. But the reality is that, it's happening. And so there's these guys who are going to choose based off of that. And so it's just another perfect example of why you can't really get caught up in thinking, is something wrong with me, or why is this woman better than me? No, she might just be more convenient than you. And she may have more disposable income than you that she is willing to give this man and allow him to take advantage in that way. So it definitely plays a part with some of these men out here. All right, so now this next one, some of y'all might feel some kind of way about it. I'm going to be very delicate with how I present it, but, I'm going to keep it real with y'all always. Another reason why a man chooses one woman over another is because of sexual compatibility, okay? Now, for many of y'all, that's not a shock or a surprise if we're keeping it real. But I do think a lot of women aren't considering the impact that could be having, right? And so let me just mention it now before I forget. This is one of the reasons why we all know, for those who are believers, the ideal, the goal is wait till marriage. But I always say, though that may be the ideal, I understand that most people don't make it that far. Okay, most people engage way before then. I'm no better than y'all. So, ain't no judgment here. But, and because that is the case for many, believer or not, I still want to discuss things within that dynamic because we still have to be mindful of how we're navigating even in that dynamic if we're going to walk down that path, so to speak. So one of the things I say to women is that if you're going to sleep with a man, you want to make sure you are truly comfortable with taking that next step. Because what happens with a lot of women, whether they realize it or not, is they engage sexually with a man before they're truly comfortable. And I'm going to put it like this. Because you're not truly comfortable yet, right? You're not coming with your A game. All right. So you may be fully capable of being just a star in the bedroom. Okay. Like you are amazing. You have that ability. But for many of you, you have to feel comfortable and safe enough to let that side out. Right. But even though you need to feel that way to let that side out, many of you may still engage before you've reached that point. So now, rather than coming with your A game, you're coming with your C plus game, coming with your B minus game. I say it respectfully and with love, but I'm just being real with y'all. And though you may think, nah, it's still good even when it's a B minus, yeah, it might be good, but it doesn't. But now he's evaluating things based off of that. So let's add more direct context to this, right? Let's say when you're really comfortable and safe, you're much more open-minded in the bedroom. Your energy is higher. Your desire, you're more into it. You're making noises, all this stuff, right? But when you're not that comfortable, you're a little bit more quiet, a little bit more passive. You might engage. You might do some things. You might have some moments, flashes of it, but it's not the same. Now, for some guys, that reserved or held back side of you that you're giving may still be amazing to him, may still be good enough, and it not negatively impacting you in any kind of way. However, the downside of that is when you bring out your real self, he may not be able to handle that. There are some women who held back initially. That dude, maybe he's a conservative guy. He was cool with that level, and he can hang with that level. But your true level, he's like, oh, this is too much. I can't do this. And now you're unsatisfied, and there's a disconnect. On the flip side, you have that guy who's looking for a certain kind of energy in the bedroom. You engage thinking, for whatever reason, and now he's thinking, you know what? This isn't going to work. I like her, but in the bedroom it's just not there. And it's not because it doesn't exist within you, but he doesn't know that. Like I've had men say to me before, like I knew one guy who, after like the first time I'm messing with a woman, she didn't engage in a certain sexual act. And he was like, oh, I'm not dealing with no woman if she ain't doing that. And I was like, bruh, slow down. She just may need a little time warming up to be comfortable. Like you so quick everybody's not this microwave to pop them in, they're ready to go and boom, boom, boom. When it comes to intimacy, like maybe you just need to have a conversation, whatever. Long story short, he listened to me. He was patient. He was like, man, you were so right because now it's super amazing. And they just had to work through some things. But everybody doesn't understand that. And so you get evaluated based off of what you are currently presenting. And now, yes, this can lead to a man choosing one woman over the other because one of the biggest concerns of men when it comes to long-term relationships and marriage is this woman capable of satisfying me sexually? Is she willing and capable? All right? Because if she's not, he's going to have way greater fear and hesitancy to tie himself to this woman for the rest of his life. All right? But if he gets the feeling that she is, even if sometimes it's not what he thinks, that's a whole different discussion, he'll be more willing to move forward. So it plays a role, it plays a part. Now, understand this. Do I think we have to have sex to understand if we are on the same page and are compatible. No. Many of you may disagree. I understand, but respectfully, no, I don't believe that. I believe we can sit down and if we're willing to have an open, honest discussion, through talking, we can see if we're actually on the same page. If we have attraction with each other, right, and we share the same mindset, or we embrace each other's mindset when it comes to how we approach things sexually and what our desires and needs are, then we can be good. And of course, discuss all the things that play into it, because I think a lot of people are suffering, let's just say marriage is suffering with a sexual disconnect because they don't understand all the things that play into it for both sides, okay? But the bottom line is, I do believe we can discover compatibility without going through the act. So I'm not saying you have to go through the act, but I am saying if you are going to, you have to be mindful that that is going on your resume. That's bottom line. It's for both sides. It's going on the resume, and we have to be mindful of that because it can swing that person in one direction or another. Not to swing some of y'all might be thinking about with your nasty minds, but swing people into whether they're going to move forward or not. All right. So before I get to the next point, just want to quickly mention there's a great opportunity to join my membership program that will help you with healing, meeting relationship-minded men, tapping into your feminine energy, so many more things. Thousands of women are already experiencing it and experiencing great benefit from it. So take advantage of this moment. Go to receivingmyblessings.com or click the link in the description or the comment section. You can check it out after you finish watching the rest of this video. And just join the day. I'm telling you, you're going to love it. It's an amazing experience. We do live calls where I answer your personal questions. And it's going to be very, very helpful to you on your journey. Now, to keep this video going, another reason why a man chooses one woman over another is because she makes him feel more desired, okay? So I've mentioned in the past, I've given this example of, you ever see a situation where a man is dealing with two women, and let's say one is more of the good girl, maybe more conservative, and the other one is a little bit of crazy, okay? And in many cases, he ends up with the crazy one, all right? Now, immediately someone looks at that as he's just dysfunctional and all these different things. But I need you to take a step back and let me just point out, this even happens a lot on the flip side, okay? Where the woman ends up with that kind of guy too. And when you think about it from this perspective, I think this will start to make more sense to you. The reason why the man in many cases, not all, but in many cases, ends up with what may be considered the crazier one of the two is because she is more likely willing to show high level of desire, all right? She's more willing to go hard and do what she got to do to be like, nah, this is my man, you ain't going nowhere. Whereas the good, more conservative one may be taking more of an approach of, no, he needs to come after me. He needs to choose me. Boom, 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 boom. But in doing that, is not showing or presenting how much desire she has for him. All right? And humans in general tend to be drawn to where they feel more desired and appreciated and wanted. Plain and simple. To the point that they will overlook some of the crazy that comes with it because at least they feel like, but this person actually really wants me, whereas this other person, I have to question and wonder because of how maybe nonchalant they are. Now, some of y'all might be good women with a little bit of crazy in you, okay? and that can be good for some people, all right? Some people like that, all right? So maybe you know how to be a good woman, but you know how to show that passion and desire. And that's what I mean by having that crazy in you. I think every woman, it would be awesome to be able to find it within yourself to show that man that you want to be with, the man that you're interacting with, that you truly desire him. Now, again, that doesn't mean chasing after a man. That doesn't mean technically pursuing a man, right? It just means, but not be afraid to let it be known that, yes, I want you, I desire you, all these things. Now, if you don't like that example, I'll give you a different one. I always forget the title of this book. I'm ashamed at this point, but I gotta roll with it. There's this book, and the whole premise of the book is they survey these married couples after they get their marriage license, and they're asking questions like, why did you marry this person? And they ask the men, why did you marry this woman? And one of the top answers they received was, because she liked me. Say that one more time. They said the reason why they chose this woman is because she liked me. What a lot of women underestimate is the power of making a man feel wanted and desired. All right? And one of the reasons why you're underestimating it, or maybe you're not understanding the level of power it possesses, is because you don't understand how uncommon it is for a man to receive that kind of energy from a woman, that kind of spirit from a woman where she's coming at him like that, all right? Again, men are typically in the position where they have to pursue, chase, whatever the case may be. So when they have a woman who's showing up in that way for them, that feels damn good. Plain and simple, all right? Now, it doesn't mean you can just go to any man you want, show him you want him, and he's gonna choose you. All right, let's not go that far. All right, let's be realistic here. But if he already has attraction and a level of desire for you, and you're willing to express your desire and show it for him, yes, that reels him in even more. So going back to the whole why he chooses one woman over the other, sometimes that is the case. That other woman is willing to put it out there, willing to take certain actions, whereas the other one is too laid back and chill and not doing anything. Now, other factors will come into play as far as, how much that affects his willingness to go with one or the other, but that in itself is a huge deal. All right, so here's another big one we got to discuss. Another reason why a man may choose one woman over another is because one woman makes him feel needed while the other doesn't, okay? Now, I know some of y'all might roll your eyes and suck your teeth like, what is wrong with these men? Why do they need to feel needed? What is all this stuff? Why you gotta stroke their ego? All these different things. Listen, I think in reality, if you sit down and think about it, everyone likes to feel like they have a place of value in a relationship, all right? That they feel, in a sense, if not needed, again, they're able to provide something when they actually care about where they are. It reminds me of like in basketball or in sports. You'll have guys who are on the bench, they're not playing. And you'll have spectators who are looking like, oh, why is he unhappy? He's making millions of dollars, he gets to sit on the bench. But it's like when you love the game and you care about it, you want to contribute. You want to be someone that's bringing more value than just sitting on the bench. Some guys don't care. Some guys are like, I'm good, I'm getting my check, I'm fine. But for many, it's like, no, they want to go somewhere where they can play and be of value and actually do what they love. And that is the same mentality in relationships. A lot of men, they don't want to be somewhere where they just sit back and they have no value here, right? They want to feel like, not that you can't live without them. I think that's unhealthy if that's what a man's looking for. And I think if he's looking for a woman that can't live without him, again, there's some other issues there. But being able to provide some kind of true value and being able to be of service to the one that you care about and that you love, because it's not just about how that makes you feel, it's also about The fact that it allows you to pour love into her, like doing for her, showing your value, being of any kind of need or help to that person, it gives you an opportunity to express and show love and let that love flow back and forth. And when that's being blocked, the love is being blocked. You see? And so for a lot of and understand, I think on a deeper level, a lot of men are wired to, yes, provide, protect. And provide doesn't automatically just mean money, but it does mean, like, again, being of service to your woman. And if you can't do that, that can make a man feel very uncomfortable. But I think we have to go beyond that, because here's the reality. If a man is with a woman who he cannot be of service to in any way, right? He does not feel needed or valued in any kind of way. It's not just staying at he's not allowed to do stuff for her. It's carrying over into other ways, because in the vast majority of situations, if not all, but at least the majority, the woman who does not allow the man to provide his value probably has a wall up herself. Some of y'all may not like hearing that, but it's reality. She probably has a wall up that, and here's an example of that wall. She was told from when she was young, maybe by even her father, never rely on a man. Never put yourself in a position to rely on her man. So she has built her life in a way that I can do everything for myself, so that I never have to trust or rely on a man to do for me. That is a wall. It's not a healthy wall. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with building a life where you can do for yourself. But when you cannot even get out of your own way to let someone who wants to do for you, that is unhealthy. That is a problem. And again, if we go back into whether it be the basketball analogy or even at a job that people actually care about, to not let that person provide value and express their love and passion for their work, it stifles them in a way that it just creates other issues. Okay? So it's not simply, I can't do this for you. It's, again, like, there's just so much more at play there, and it goes deeper. And so if that woman has fears of, I can't rely on a man, trust and believe it's going to show up in other ways as well. All right? And it's going to create or contribute to other disconnects in the relationship. It may even contribute into, for example, some women have their walls so high up and they struggle with being vulnerable and just letting a man do for them, that it extends to even them being very openly affectionate with the man. All right? They don't know how to be very affectionate or receive his affection, receive his compliments, receive his things. And so again, it starts to create this other disconnect and issue within the relationship. All right? And we have to be able to recognize that for what it is. So when we say, yeah, the man wants to feel needed, just don't look at it as just that. Go beyond that, but understand it is normal for any person who cares about something, loves something, to want to provide value or service to it. Plain and simple. And there's nothing wrong with that. So going back to the point of choosing one woman over another, let's look at it from a different angle. One is letting her love him. One is letting him love her, and the other isn't. So where is he going to go for a relationship? Where the love can be had. Plain and simple. All right? Some of y'all may disagree, but I'm just telling you what it is. But bottom line, at the end of the day, again, though some of these examples do point to issues within a woman that may need to be addressed, still understand that, and I always want to encourage self-evaluation, being able to humble ourselves to understand what we need to improve upon, because if we don't correct some of these issues, we're going to consistently stay in this cycle and not get the healthy relationship that we desire. But understand that many of these situations are just about you and that man not being in alignment. And when that's the case, learn what you can from the situation. Maybe it's about learning how to who to invest your time into better, how to better evaluate quicker if this man is truly for you or not, going to God sooner in the process to see what God has to say about this individual, but doing what we can to set ourselves up for success and to receive the person who is truly best for you. Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there. Has a man ever tried to manipulate you? I'm sure the chances are you've had that experience at least once. And if you haven't, there's a very good chance you may come across it at some point. The unfortunate reality in life is there are people